double check you can hear us? Did someone online just let us know if you can hear us now?
Yes, we can hear you clearly.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Lujuan, that was you, I think.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Sure. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a good week ahead of us. We've had lots of input papers come through. We've got a few presentations as well tomorrow, which will be quite exciting. I just want to take the time to go around, have an introduction, and because we've got a few newcomers as well. So I'll start with me. My name is Sarah. I am the Digital Engagement Lead for Trinity House for the United Kingdom. My previous experience was Heritage Coordinator with the Australian Maritime Authority, and I'm very interested in how we can help engineers, those that are working inside lighthouses, complete their work while also being mindful of heritage, which you will see in one of the guidelines that I've been drafting this past few years now. And yes, I've been chair now for 2 sessions following Peter Hill, lovely Peter Hill, and we like to keep that spirit of the Heritage and Culture Working Group alive with that. I'll pass on now to Nayok. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon. My name is Naehyuk Yoo from Korea Institute of Base Navigation. In this working group 3, maybe I'm taking over the task group revising guideline 1080, the selection and display of heritage artifacts. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. I'm Yong Chanbe from Republic of Korea. I'm working for Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries. On behalf of my ministry, I welcome to World Editor Navigation July this year, and I will explain the detailed program followed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Fernando Andrade. I work for Agent Park in France, the French authority, and I lead the national mission on hazardous substances and heritage lighthouse modernization. And my work brings together technical, environmental, and cultural requirements to support safety and tolerance to the sensitive modernization of the French maritime network.
Beautiful, thank you. Lovely to have you here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Masatora Ono from Japan Coast Guard. I'm working on the Tokyo headquarters of Maritime Safety Department. So just now we are engaged in the twinning lighthouses. We have just Scotland and French. So we'd like to expand this project all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Kerr.
Hello, everyone. This is Kerr from Jimei University. I've been participating in ENG from 2019, and my interest is also in heritage and the lighthouse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, I'm Captain Greco of Italian Navy. I'm the commanding officer of Lighthouse of Technical Office. And we are very interested in this working group as the Italian Navy, because in Italy we have more and more of all the lighthouses. And so we need a strategy to know what can happen in the next 5-10 years.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Antonio. I'm Portuguese Navy officer also, and I'm deputy officer of the Portuguese Lighthouse Directorate. And I've been working here in this group to try to help everybody with whatever they need. So let's do it.
I am Wansok Blade from Pony University, Architecture Department. I interested in lighthouse as a heritage and cultural aspects, and I also want to see the architecture, of lighthouse itself. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Sang Young, and I'm
also from South Korea, professor at the NC University Department of Architecture Engineering. I worked on architecture design, also history preservation and renovation of historical building. It's just my second time here, so I'm looking forward to this.
Thank you. Thank you. Lovely to have you back.
Hello, everyone. My name is Oleg Eday. I'm head of Lighthouse Service of Russian Navy, and I joined this group because we have a lot of also, I think also like in any country, we have a lot of old lighthouses that are heritage, and now we working in our country. We're working on the providing project for tourists for visiting lighthouses by tourists, and that's why it's rather interesting for me. And I think I'll be working in any working group because all of them are interesting for me.
Brilliant. Thank
you.
you. Lovely to have all of you here online. I'll just get you to say a few words about yourself. So, Lu Juan, would you be able to introduce yourself?
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Liu Juan from China MSA, and I have attended several ENG meetings since ENG14, and I have been keeping up with our heritage and culture work all along. Over the years, I've learned a lot of valuable experience in management and conservation from the members in this working group. And when we work on our lighthouses, we've also made good use of the menu and related guidelines. So besides, I really appreciate the great support and help from all of you while updating guideline 1063, and thank you so much. I sincerely wish Working Group 3 continued prosperity. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Lu Juan. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off just then. It's wonderful to have you back, and thank you again for all of your hard work, particularly on 1063, which we will discuss a little bit later this afternoon. But yes, thank you. It's lovely to have you back. And we also have on the line Francisco from Chile. Are you able to say a quick hello and introduction? Francisco? We can't hear you if you are on the line. We can come back to you if you come back to us. I'll move on to Valeria. But have we got you there for a hello? Maybe not. All right, we'll come back to you as well. I'll move on to, sorry, I can't see the, Enrique? Do we have Enrique on the line? I hope they can all hear us. That's what I'm worried about now. Let me just turn up this. Okay, so hopefully they're there. We'll come back to them if they're not. But welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for returning with, like I said, all the presentations and input papers that have been submitted for our working group to discuss. We are nearing the pointy end of our task period. This is our third last session. So we've got this session, and then we've got the autumn session. And then that will be towards the end of that task period of 2027. So we've got a few things to look at. I've drawn up the agenda to have a look over. I just want to run through it. And if there's anything, please, for those of you online, please stick your hand up and let us know. If there's anything you want to add to the agenda or needs to be clarified, happy to do so. I'll just enlarge this a bit. So this is the rough schedule that I've put together for the week. I would love to run through the tasks, any updates that have happened since ENG21, and also to start discussing some of those input papers because the majority of them are to do with existing tasks. So I've got that down until tomorrow morning, where we have updates, discuss input papers until our break at 10:30. Then we've got presentations in our working group here. We've actually got 3 presentations now. There's only 2 listed. So that will be twinning lighthouses from Japan Coast Guard, which will be fantastic to hear an update on the work done there. We've also got Greg Hansen from the Australian Maritime Safety Authority to present on Green Cape. Now, the title of the presentation doesn't give much away, but they've recently recommissioned a heritage lighthouse. It was previously decommissioned and they built a modern tower next to it. Then the tower reached the end of its life cycle and they found it was beneficial to actually move the modern equipment back inside the heritage lighthouse, and they've relit it. So he's going to give us a presentation on the work that's been done there, the heritage considerations that have been made. So that'd be great to hear from him. We'll also have Mike Bay talking to us about World Aton Day, which will be excellent. So thank you. I'm sorry I won't be able to be at the closing plenary, but if there's any message you would like us to share at the closing plenary in your absence, more than happy to do that as well.
And how about the presentation on Wednesday?
On Wednesday?
Yeah.
Easily done. No, absolutely. Thank you. Let me know what time suits you best. Then I was planning, because we've only got such a few sessions left to get some of our work done. I think, oh, hang on, I think we got a live mic somewhere. I might just, hopefully, is that muted? Okay, there we go. I don't have to hear myself speak. Because I think it's really beneficial if we split into smaller groups to really tackle these tasks and progress them as much as possible. So some of you are new. We've got new people on the line as well. So I just want to take, this afternoon and tomorrow morning to go through each of the tasks, not only the updates, but explaining what they are about, what the end goal is for these tasks. And then by the time, we're reaching early afternoon on Tuesday, we'll be able to put our hands up and say which one we really want to tackle with the task leaders. And then I've got that the rest of Tuesday and all of Wednesday dedicated to that. Does that sound productive and useful to all of you? Okay, brilliant. That will be fantastic. Like I said, we'll go through all of the tasks for those of you that are new. Thursday, I've got dedicated to, presenting what output this work from this week has gone into, keeping in mind that it is only a couple of days that we have to work on things. But it would just be really helpful for me writing up the output report as well. And I just want to make it clear as well, you don't have to just dedicate yourself to one particular task. If there are a few, please feel free to provide feedback and communicate with the task leaders of whatever task that you want to look at, as many as you want to look at. But there are a few tasks in there that are quite large and we really need to tackle. So that would be brilliant. Then I have to have the chair report submitted by Thursday at 5, so I'll need to spend a bit of time doing up that work as well. And then we have the closing plenary on the Friday. So that's roughly of what our week is looking like. We also have a ENG photo as well that will be taken tomorrow during break. And I also have a meeting with the rest of the chairs to discuss what our next task period looks like and what tasks we want to add to that. So that's also something that I want to discuss with you this afternoon and also tomorrow morning, having a think about what it is we want the next 3 years to look like for this working group. So that's also going to take up time today and tomorrow. So I think the best thing to do now, if there's no questions about that, I don't want to rush off. If there's any questions online, anything? No worries. Alrighty. Any questions in the room before I start delving into each of the tasks? Brilliant. Okay, so we have task 2.6.1, which is maintaining the heritage web pages on the Iala website. So Gillian is our task leader for this. she is going to join us tomorrow morning, and Lujuan's also submitted an input paper about some proposed changes to the website that she will present for us tomorrow morning as well, first thing at 9 a.m. So just a brief update from me. I've updated some of the sections of the website that are to do with nomination because as I'll get to in a second, Council have approved our changes to the nomination and selection of Heritage Lighthouse of the Year. The website has been updated to reflect that. The website, which I may as well just bring up actually, has also been updated to reflect the Heritage Lighthouse of the Year being Evangelistas Lighthouse. So that has also been added. I'll just change what I'm sharing. Yes, to share this one. We also have there was some discussion in the last ENG about potentially having a lighthouse calendar or a map on the website as well, just to help enhance promotion of lighthouses through Iala. And I'm very excited to say that Alisa has, because it's the secretariat team, Alisa, who go behind the scenes and work on the website. And she's actually built in a function so that we now can have a map as well. So for each of the lighthouses that we have listed in the heritage part of the website, you'll see here, this is our Iala website. This is our heritage section. So this is the main web page, heritage and culture. And then we also have these little sub pages as well, for those of you who aren't familiar. We have a section on the Iala Heritage Lighthouse of the Year, which is one of the parts that has been updated to reflect our Heritage Lighthouse of the Year for 2026, which this group actually shortlisted as part of 3 possible lighthouses for the council to decide. So that's been updated, which is great. This nominate page has also been updated as well. It now reflects what the deadline is for submissions for Heritage Lighthouse of the Year for 2027. It also reflects the change, which is that we accept 1 nomination per Iala member state or associate member territory. We found last session when we were deliberating on Lighthouse of the Year, we found that the rules had been restricted just to member states, and we had quite a few submissions from associate members that we weren't able to accept, but council has approved us changing that, which is fantastic. So this has been updated. And so this section, Heritage Lighthouses, so this is all lighthouses that have been nominated for Heritage Lighthouse of the Year. We've got quite an extensive list now, but behind the scenes, we're now able to actually put in a map function. So if we just have the longitude and latitude for these lighthouses, we can add them in, and then we can show that where they are on the map as well, which will be quite useful. That's currently not visible at the moment. We need to build that and get those longitudes and latitudes for the lighthouses, and then we shall be able to add them to this website. So like I said, Lujuan has put in a fantastic input paper that she's going to present for us tomorrow morning first thing. I really encourage you to have a look over it if you haven't done so already. Bring forward any comments, any feedback, because I won't jump the gun and try and explain what it's at. Sorry, Wong Chong, were you? No, sorry, I thought you were going to say something. That is all good. So and it'll be great to have Gillian on board as well from the NLB, who is managing this task. So that is the update that I have on the website for now, bearing in mind that we will discuss it in more detail tomorrow, but hopefully that's a bit of an overview for those of you that aren't familiar with our website. And okay, now we have task 2.6.3, which is managing the process for the Iala Heritage Accolade. So similar to maintaining the heritage website, this is an ongoing task. This will constantly roll over to each task period because we are constantly handing out accolades to Heritage Lighthouse of the Year. So as I mentioned, because of the change from NGO to IGO, we had to change the nomination process a little bit, tweak some of the terms that had been used originally. I think it just said ATON managers or countries or that, but now we've determined that it will say Iala member states and also associate member territories as well, which is great news. And we've also been approved to change the timing of deliberations for the 2028 Heritage Lighthouse of the Year. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we deliberate Heritage Lighthouse of the Year in the October ENG session of each year. It goes to council. They deliberate in December on which lighthouse they would like to choose as Heritage Lighthouse of the Year. And then that lighthouse is then for that year from December onwards known as Heritage Lighthouse of the Year broadly. Because of the timing of the big Iala meeting that they're having in India, we have to change our deliberation for the 2028 award. So this October, it will run as usual, where we'll deliberate on Heritage Lighthouse of the Year for 2027. That will remain the same. But for the 2028 accolade, we will now be deliberating for that in the spring. So we will have 2 deliberation sessions, one after the other. We'll have this year in October, then we will have next year in April, where we'll be deliberating. So it's a very short window for nominations and submissions for Heritage Lighthouse of the Year for 2028. And my plan is to make sure that that's clear in the website, that's clear on the Iala, media channels as well, so that we can get the message out there that it is a much shorter window. But at council have approved us to do that, which is good as well. So a lot of movement on that front. I wonder, Mike Bay, did you have an update for us on the plaque that Korea very kindly put together in past years, whether that's still on the cards or
Originally, is Shin
yeah.
supposed to participate in this meeting, but she has another business instead of this you.
Yeah, I put some like examples for the design of the clock. So we're gonna showcase like 4 options for that, and we can just simply vote for it. Like what kind of design would be suitable for Chile. So maybe tomorrow or
yeah, absolutely. That sounds fantastic. Okay, that's great. Thank you again for all of your contribution for that. It's fantastic. The artwork that is provided to the accolade holders. It's fantastic. So thank you. So for those of you who aren't aware, the Korea have been providing the, I guess, a word. What would you say? It's not a trophy, a plaque. Plaque, yeah. A plaque to the winners of Heritage Lighthouse of the Year, and very kindly let us contribute to what that end product looks like. So really excited to see how that turns out. I just realized I'm not sharing the agenda. I'll just share that very quickly. There we go. Oleg, yeah.
Do I right understand that next year, 2027, all countries who want to present their lighthouses for Lighthouse of the Year, they have to prepare their
submission.
Yes, submission till April, and when will Lighthouse of the Year will be elected?
So I think I'm not
On the council of June, or also on
it will be June.
In June.
June,
In
yeah,
June
correct.
2027.
Correct, yeah. So it's a much shorter window. I think I'll have to double check what the liaison note was on the deadline date, but it will be prior to our session here in April. So yeah, we can set that out. No, thank you.
Thank you.
No worries. So any further questions on that update on managing the process for Iala Heritage Lighthouse of the Year? Anything online? Brilliant. Okay, so that one, as I said, is a constantly a task that rolls on each session. So that one will always be in our task list, and we will have to tweak it here and there, like we have done with dates of deliberation, and also if the selection and nomination is chosen to change. And if you have any further comments or feedback on the nomination and selection process as well, always happy to discuss it, particularly in this session, because we aren't just about to do a deliberation. We are also, you know, we have time now to make any changes that are necessary. So any thoughts on that, let us know. Now we have task 2.6.7. I'm not sure, do we have Zhen Yugao on the online? I'm not sure we do. Lujuan, do you have an
Sarah.
update for us on? Hello?
Sarah, yeah, she's not online. She didn't attend this meeting this time, and she said to me that this guideline 10675 has already been done and put, and she will contact you after the meeting.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. That would be fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Lujuan. So Zhen Yugao's done so much work on this guideline, and it is very much near the point where it's ready to be finalized. For me, given that we have the new quality assurance checks that are in place, very recently been changed in how that process works, I think that will probably be the biggest thing for guideline 1075, is just making sure it's in line with these new quality checks. I also, before we get into task 2.6.6, which is guideline 1063, I had a chat with Christina because the new quality checks impacted one of our guidelines that we went to send to council. And she's going to come, and she and Alan are going to come and have a chat with us and just let us know sort of what happened there, why it happened, and what this means for our guidelines moving forward, essentially. But this is a good segue into guideline 1063, which is agreements for complementary use of lighthouses. So this one we put to the committee to send to council at the end of ENG21. It passed you know, our approval process within the committee, but prior to it going to council, it was flagged by the Secretariat as just having some parts of the content that needed to be amended. Because of the content of the guideline, we had a lot of sort of legal documents that were parts of the annex in particular of this document, and the Secretariat felt that it needed to be made clearer to clarify that this wasn't Iala providing legal advice to people who might be using this guideline. So they've actually submitted quite a few amendments. I do encourage you to just go and have a look at what they have amended in the document. Lujuan and I have both had a look at the amendments, and we find that they're very much just more of a technical quality nature. It's not changing the nature of the document or the purpose of the guideline. So we, Lujuan and I, are happy to proceed with their amendments. But if you have any sort of updates or thoughts or feedback on that, please do let us know, because ideally we would love to get this one back to through that approval process. But Lujuan, I'll turn to you if you have an update on your end. I know I've just spoken a little bit about it, but anything on your end you'd like to share about 1063?
Okay. I found that the revised version provided by the Secretariat has been updated mainly in three aspects. And the first one, most importantly, as you said before, is the general disclaimer has been added to clarify that the guideline does not constitute legal advice. And the second one is some of the wording areas, wording or grammatically obstacle have been corrected in this guideline. And the third one is the certain specific information in the annexes has been redacted to protect the relevant authorities. So in my opinion, I fully agree with the revision made by the secretary. So regarding the proposal from the Secretariat to explore a structured template or modern framework, I believe that this may need to be carried over to the next work cycle because I think it needs a long time, much of the time to accomplish it. So I suggest we adopt the revised version prepared by the secretary for this time. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Lujuan. So yes, this is the liaison note that, oh, sorry, this was the secretariat note that was submitted for our working group about guideline 1063. If you haven't had a look, it is in our input documents on the Iala website, and it describes all of the changes that they've suggested or the amendments that they've suggested. And as Lujuan put very concisely, there was a lot to do with Iala's governance and legal framework as an IGO, and that was what prompted these amendments needed. The existing guideline that was created in 2007 or 2011, something like that, you know, that would impact that existing guideline if that went out today. So as Lujuan said, we're prepared to accept those changes from the Secretariat. But if you haven't had a look at this document, then do have a look and see if there's anything else that you can spot before we go through, because it would be a shame for this to be knocked back again, because Lujuan has done so much work on it. And thank you again, Lujuan, for all of that work. All righty. Now we have, let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, so we have guideline 1080, which is the selection and display of heritage artifacts. So this was previously being led by Jaewon Shim. And now we have Naoki, who has very kindly offered to take over this. I wonder if you have an update at all about this one?
Well, I just looked through yesterday. So basically this guideline provides like basic guidance on like how to select and display the artifacts related to the Asian navigation and lighthouses, and basically explains like how to decide which items should be considered artifacts and how to present them to the visitors, and especially how to plan and organize an exhibition. So overall, it's simply a practical guideline for museum or exhibition management. But I just looked through this guideline and realized like what can be improved. First of all, it's released in 2011, so it's pretty old, outdated. And also it lacks up in like current exhibition trends, such as like digital or interactive exhibition. And these days, like visitors prefers experiencing rather than just viewing or watching or seeing. So without it, just if this guideline is used as it is, it fully lacks a engagement part. So so what can we improve? Is like we can strengthen like digital and interactive elements of this guideline, and also provide more concrete guidance. And last but not least, we can include like operational aspects, because this is like this guideline lacks like budgeting or operational perspective, so we can just enhance that kind of part as well. So yeah, let me just read through again, and I can just briefly introduce tomorrow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for taking on the task. And I sent you some, I think, comments that I'd made on the existing.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah. So yeah, no, brilliant. That will be great. So I've realized that accidentally skipped over task 2.6.4, which is the heritage module for the Worldwide Academy level 1.1 ATOM manager course. So Kerr has been our task leader for this one, and you have a presentation that we'll go through tomorrow on this. So that will be fantastic. Would you be able to give a brief sort of just rundown on what the task is? Rather, nothing in depth at this point, because I know you'll talk to us in detail tomorrow.
Several times, and then tomorrow we will have a framework of it, and then to all class to discuss whether this framework is done, and then we can take some details in it, but meeting it to 1.5 hours, so we can decide how to go on and try to complete it next ENG23.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. No, that will be good to have a look at the framework tomorrow. Thank you for that. Yeah, yes, thank you. Thank you. That will be tomorrow morning that we'll have a look at that. And then an update on me from task 2.6.2, which is the production of a guidance document on modernizing lighthouses while minimizing negative heritage impacts. So this is a task I've been working on for a few years now. And the whole premise and idea of this guideline is to provide advice to ATOL managers that are installing new equipment inside lighthouses. So say you're taking out the old lamp changer and you're installing an LED light source. What changes do you have to make inside a heritage building in order to accommodate modern equipment? And it also extends to health and safety as well, because we're constantly having to add safety grates or safety handles so that people can operate and work inside lighthouses, but also for visitors as well, for tourism too. You know, how do we go about changing the lighthouse in that respect, while also making sure that the heritage value of the site isn't impacted on as much? Again, this is just a guideline document. Of course, we understand that sometimes changes have to be made inside heritage lighthouses, you know, at the end of the day, it is safety of the mariner, which is important. But hopefully this guideline helps ATON managers, project managers, all of those that are working on, you know, the technical side of the business also take into account the heritage value. So this has been in draft form for a few sessions. I've got the latest version of the document, which I put as part of an input paper to get advice, not only from this group on thoughts on where it's sitting, but also from working group 1 and 2, because a lot of the people in working group 1 and 2 will be our audience for this kind of guideline. They're the project managers, they're the ATOM managers that will be going and undertaking projects, undertaking technical work inside lighthouses. So I wanted to make sure that that document is going to be beneficial to them, whether any changes from their end could be suggested, any amendments. So I've submitted that input paper. I have got it here in the agenda, but that is more so targeted towards working group 1 and 2 to provide feedback during the week as well. I think I've asked that they provide some advice and thoughts on the document by the end of Wednesday, so that I have some time to make some updates in that. But this is another big task because it's introducing a new guidance document, and I know that there's been a few people involved in working on this for quite a time. So I might just bring that up so we can have a look at it in its current form. But this will be my task of the week that I'll be leading. Okay. It will be this one. Finally. Okay, can everyone see that one? Brilliant. Okay, so first of all, decided on a title. There was a few different options there we could have chosen. This is the one that I've gone with, Modernizing Heritage Lighthouses and Minimizing Negative Impact, because I think that it sort of summarizes really what the document's about, but there could have been a few different ways we could have gone with that. I need to double check the template for this one. I believe it's not on the most recent template that's just been brought out, so we'll just need converting to that. So that will be part of the next bit of the task moving forward. So as we can see here, the introduction sort of just discusses, lighthouses, how the fact that this has been an ancient service to the mariner, and that we have a lot of older lighthouses that have a lot of heritage value, community value to them, and that, doing work inside lighthouses has the possibility to impact much more than just the physical building itself. And it intends to provide ATOL managers with heritage management and conservation principles when looking at installing new ATOL equipment, or moving equipment around, or installing health and safety features as well. So modernization, I just discuss how an ACE navigation may have a level of significance due to a whole variety of features, and that it is necessary for modernization equipment to be installed sometimes. So I've narrowed the scope of the document to focus on upgrading ATON equipment and installing ATON equipment, modifications for health and safety, and then also any reinforcement of ATON equipment for disaster resilience. So that's to do with natural disasters and that might occur, and where emergency work is needed on a lighthouse. So we just mark out that we understand that failing to consider heritage value may mean that there'd be a loss of heritage significance for the particular lighthouse, but we also take into account that there's obviously a lot of money that comes into taking care of lighthouses. So this is just meant as a guideline for those authorities that might have the ability and the money to spend on doing this kind of work. Again, it links into the Iala recommendation, which is for the conservation of heritage lighthouses, the management of heritage lighthouses. So this section, I talk about a 4-phase process for projects for this kind of work. So when undertaking modernization works, it's important to consider, the heritage lighthouse at stake. And I've sort of outlined there being almost like a 4-step process that ATOL managers can work through. And again, this is just a suggestion for this kind of work. But the first phase being understanding the impact of proposed work. The second step being adopting the adoption of mitigation measures. The third phase being assessing the need to conserve any redundant equipment or fabric, which ties in nicely with our artifact guideline. And then also phase 4, which is keeping records of any modifications made. So it's just to give, ATOL managers an idea of what's possible for each of those steps. The first phase, understanding the impact of proposed modernization works. So this is making sure that prior to works, ATOL managers are identifying what parts of the lighthouse, as I've called fabric. So this is the physical, tangible parts of the building itself. What's significant? Conduct some research prior to the works. Take into account the history of the particular parts of the lighthouse. What photographs do you have of it? And then also utilize non-invasive technology to understand, what the fabric's made of, or what the ground looks like around it, that sort of thing, if it's relevant to a project. Engaging with stakeholders, chatting with the local community. So in Australia, when I was heritage coordinator, our lighthouses were on Indigenous land, and we would need to consult with the local stakeholders for the land councils, the Aboriginal Australians, to ensure that we weren't performing work or encroaching on their sacred sites as well, because it all exists within the same landscape. Considering a range of modification options as well, taking into account, what needs to be changed about the lighthouse, and how many different ways could we do it, and which one perhaps has the least impact. Then we also have changing only as much as necessary. So this is just to restrict, how much is changed inside a heritage lighthouse if there's a lot of significance in this building. Phase 2, adopting mitigation measures. So this is outlining and undertaking actions that minimize impact to the heritage fabric before, after, and during the works. So there's some recommended principles to adopt. Again, we're not telling ATON authorities what they have to do. We're just suggesting, one of them being avoiding the removal of demolition of heritage fabric. So this is to avoid it as much as possible. Again, there might be works where this is necessary, but this is just to try and avoid it as much as possible, if possible. Utilizing existing penetrations into heritage fabric. So, for example, this is from Corny Point Lighthouse in Australia. We had to mount a Sea Light Star 2M remote monitoring unit inside the lantern room, and we could have just drilled it into the wall, and this was a 19th century lighthouse. We didn't really want to add more holes to the wall where there didn't need to be. So instead we attached it to the unit to a plate, which we then secured with bolts through existing perforations, as you can see through the as we call the catwalk in the lantern room. So it meant that we can actually just unscrew that in the future and take it away, and it's like it was never even there inside the lighthouse, which we found to be in line with heritage sort of conservation work. So that's just an example. And again, with this draft guideline, I'm always looking for examples as well from perhaps your own projects that you've been working on. So very eager to talk more about that. Some more principles has been minimizing the visual impact of modern equipment. So that might be to make the changes, make new equipment perhaps a bit discreet, if that's your prerogative. Of course, there might be that you want to show off what modern equipment looks like inside your heritage lighthouse, which is completely understandable. When I was with AMSA and then also with Trinity House, it was about making sure that people didn't walk into a lantern room expecting to see a 19th century lighthouse lantern room and then be hit with just modern technology fitted to the walls and make them feel like they walked into a data center or something. Avoiding irreversible modifications. So similar to that unit that we were attaching to the lantern room, we wanted to be able to take that away without anyone even knowing that it had been there, and that helped by attaching it through an existing perforation. So just leaving behind minimal traces if possible. Avoiding removal of heritage lighting systems as much as possible. So this is a little bit of a controversial principle, which I think the ATOL managers in Working Group 1 and 2 will perhaps take a bit of an interest in, as it is becoming a bit more common for the old heritage optics, heritage lenses to be taken out of heritage lighthouses. So when I was with AMSA, our aim was to try and retain the heritage optic inside the lighthouse as much as possible to keep it intact. Of course, that's not always possible, and sometimes it will have to come out. So again, this is just a guidance principle, but very, very eager to discuss that if it's perhaps too strict based on what the modern managing way of ATON is these days. But it's, I guess, something to consider. But I have already heard from a few people in Working Group 1 and 2 that that's not always possible, is to retain that. So happy to discuss that one. I've also got avoiding the use of non-compatible equipment for heritage systems. So this is encouraging using a hybrid system. So for example, one of our lighthouse or green capers you'll see tomorrow, we've still got the original optic inside from the 19th century, and we've rigged it up in a way that the new LED is able to operate inside of that. And I believe Trinity House has also got that for a few of their projects as well. It's just to encourage people to perhaps retain their heritage systems if possible, but again, it's not always the case. Freestanding equipment. So this is again related to that sea light unit that I had above. So if it's possible, you know, for other equipment as well, for cabinetry and that, if it's possible to just have it freestanding so that you can take it away at the end of the day, no one knows that it was there, then that's ideal than leaving a permanent hole drilled into a wall or into the floor or what have you. And then we've also got utilizing energy efficient equipment. So that's to encourage the use of, you know, if you are installing new modern equipment in there, is it possible to then make it energy efficient as well? And that will, that kind of line of thinking will be taken over by the working group 4 that will be coming in at the next session for sustainability. So it'll be interesting to see what collaboration work we can do there with them when it comes to heritage lighthouses. Using expert craftspersons for projects, so that's just you know, encouraging people to seek out those with prior experience to working in older buildings with particular, you know, either masonry or limestone or what have you, just to encourage that as well. So that, and also making sure that they're aware of the heritage significance of the lighthouse prior to the works commencing. Phase 3, which is assessing the need to conserve redundant equipment or fabric. So this is looking at whether anything's being taken out of the lighthouse. And this might be, you might have a 19th century lighthouse and it's still got its optic in there. Maybe it's had new equipment put in the 1950s or earlier 1930s, and that's being removed because it's not original to the lighthouse and it might be being replaced. Is it possible you could retain that as an artifact potentially? And the same with the old lenses as well, the old original optics. It's beneficial that they're retained. And I make reference to guideline 1080 here, which is about the display and selection of artifacts, which steps you through that process of what to consider when you're removing things from a lighthouse. So for example, there was a lighthouse project at Cape Lewin in Australia, in Western Australia. And while they were undertaking all this work, they actually uncovered a cupboard that was filled with tools from lighthouse keepers back in the 1940s, 1950s in Australia. And we retain those items as artifacts and we've put them on display. They are on display at the lighthouse so that people accessing the lighthouse, because they get a lot of tourists in there, they can actually go in and have a look and see tools that were used on the lighthouse rather than just, you know, putting them back in the cupboard and shutting them up again. It was beneficial to have them on display or even throwing them out. We didn't want to throw them out. So that's just, you know, touches on guideline 1080. I haven't put as much in that one because I don't want to replicate what 1080 already covers when it comes to artifacts. So it's just to, you know, take into account what could be considered a heritage artifact after that. And then phase 4, which is keeping a record of modifications. So this is just encouraging ATON managers to consider keeping a register of changes, photographic and written. And this is so that in 100 years time, 200 years time, anyone doing work on this particular lighthouse might be able to go back and see what changes have been made. So this is something that I worked with a lot at my time with an AMSA. Anytime work was done on the lighthouse, I would say, okay, where's a photo of that? Where's the photo of the change that's been made? I need a photo of it before as well. And I need a description of all the changes so that I could go back and, you know, however many years time and see what changes were made when and by who as well. So I've got a few annexes as well that provide what these steps look like in, you know, their physical form. So I've just got some definitions here as well, which I want to double check with perhaps some of the new terms that I don't believe any of, maybe they have been changed recently by the quality assurance team, but I will have a look at that. But yeah, so Annex A of this document, so this is an example of a pre-project heritage impact statement that I would put together for the Australian lighthouses. So this is an example from Cape Lewin in WA, which is where we were doing works to the lighthouse, but also to the storeroom that was attached to the lighthouse where oil used to be stored, but now all of our batteries were being stored for the lighthouse. So this is just an example just to show some of that mitigation measure thinking that have been put together for this lighthouse. So a little location plan, you know, who was preparing it, what date, talking about the significance of the place. So I listed out what heritage registers was it listed on. This one was listed on all 3 of our main heritage registers in Australia, which is Commonwealth. That's the big list. There's a lot of, you could get into a lot of trouble for causing impact to a building that's listed on the Commonwealth Heritage List. Also on the Western Australia Heritage Register and the Shire of Augusta, which is like the local heritage register for that particular region of Western Australia. I just included, what statements of significance have been included on the various lists and registers. This was all information. I didn't write this myself. This was all information that these registers and lists already include. So I've just included them in here so that anyone looking at this impact statement would see that AMSA has taken it into consideration. I've got a condition and use of the place. So I talk about how the lighthouse is the only building on site which has retained its original function and that it displays a high degree of authenticity as it's been kept in relatively the very same condition that it was when it was first built. And that, of course, its current use of place is as a marine aid to navigation. And then I go into what the objective of the project was. So in this project, we were looking at removing asbestos from the oil store and, changing some corrosion to the oil store door as well. I included a full scope of works too, which was installing alternative lining and blanking material for the oil storeroom, and then upgrading some of the electrical installations as well. So this was a good example I felt to use for this particular guideline because it was to do with, electrical installations being changed. Reason why we listed out some of the options. So like I said, in one of those principles, have a look at what options you have for modifications. And for this one, it was we can either do nothing and it will just keep getting worse. The asbestos will remain. We were having tourists access this room as well, which wasn't ideal because of the hazards involved. And that, electrical upgrades being delayed would also have an impact on, the ability of this building to be continued to be used as a reliable aid to navigation. So yeah, we list out all of the various impacts. So the one that we went with, which was remove the asbestos and undertake electrical upgrades, that was the one that we could clearly show was the preferred option, and for all of these reasons why, to ensuring that there was structural adequacy and also reducing any damage to both the light and to the building itself. Then these are some of the mitigation measures that I had drafted as well. So this, start off quite general, like, we won't remove anything aside from what we've flagged as being corroded or we've flagged as a hazard or that we've found to be redundant as well. So some of those modern electrical power features. We outlined the scope for the temporary removal and reparation of repainting. Anything that's moved during the works will be put back in its place unless we've flagged it as being removed altogether. There's going to be daily reports generated. Any follow-up works will be scheduled ASAP. Will be adhere to guidelines set out in AMSA's heritage strategy. All that kind of business. And then there was some, more specific mitigation measures for repainting, for the corrosion work, for electrical installation, removal, reparation, and asbestos removal. So it was just a whole heap of mitigation measures that were very specific to this particular project, but it might be useful for ATOL managers working on their own projects to have a look at what we considered when we were looking at doing this work as a first instance. It wasn't something where we started the project and then we went and did all this work. This was done before the project was allowed to progress. And then this is a quick example, Annex B, of the Heritage Fabric Register. So that was that phase 4 that I referenced, which was keep a record of changes made. So this is an example of a Heritage Fabric, oh, that's spelled wrong, register. So for example, we were replacing, hang on, let me have a look. Yeah, we were installing an LED beacon, which meant removing the existing lamps, removing the existing lamp changer and control switchboards. And I wanted to make sure that this was documented. So we have a description here of what was done. And it's helpful having the date of change as well. If this description isn't enough in the future for whatever you might need this information for, you can see what date it was done and hopefully be able to find, you know, the project documentation that was made as well. So that's why I thought it was good to keep that date too. And then I've got some before and after pictures. So we had the lamp changes that were inside the lighthouse and inside the lens prior to its removal. And then we have a picture of what the LED setup is in there now. And that was just to help keep a record of that. And that would get stored in our record management system so that, like I said, in however many years, anyone needing to know, oh, when was that change made, or when did this part get changed to this, we'd be able to go in and have a look. And then this was a really good, I can't remember who suggested, someone in this group suggested putting down who the contractor was that was responsible. And I thought that was a really, really great idea. So I have retained that because in this case, it was AMS that did that work. So that's what this document is looking like at the moment. Sorry for just talking at you non-stop. But this is the document that's been sent to working group 1 and 2 to have some feedback on. Again, I'm still seeking feedback from this group on, you know, thoughts on its current standing now that it's sort of reaching that point where it's starting to look a little bit more like a guideline. But any initial thoughts, because this is something I really want to progress this week in particular as my task that I've been working on. Anything for the moment? Any thoughts online? Do we have any thoughts about that one for the time being? Of course, yeah.
Is there a, I don't know if there's a separate document for this? Sorry for my voice.
That's okay.
Is there any issues about restoration? Like, you know, this is talking about
Yeah.
negative impact, but sometimes you want to restore
Yeah.
something's been damaged.
Mhm.
Is there a separate document?
So I haven't delved into restoration for this particular guideline. And I don't believe any of our existing guidelines discuss restoration. I do think it would be quite beneficial to explore having a document that does go into that line of work. Like I said, my background is very much helping ATOM managers, you know, work in a heritage lighthouse and also help conserve a heritage lighthouse through practical means. So that's something that's a good segue into what tasks we could look at for the next task period, because yeah, like I'm just having a look here, the guidance document, we've got agreements of complementary use, branding and marketing of historic lighthouses, business plans, artifacts, surplus lighthouse property. Then this new one, which is minimizing negative impact about changes inside a lighthouse. We don't have a specific guideline that goes into restoration, which I personally think would be really, really beneficial. And it's something that I think we could discuss potentially as a potential new guideline for the next task period. But yeah, no, it's an excellent question. So that's where I'm at with that one. That's the update on that. Working group 1 and 2 are looking at that one. And hopefully we can, I'll spend this week also updating it, putting it into the new guideline template and making sure that there's not that quality assurance sort of tripping hazard that we had with 1063. But I'm hoping that this one will be ready by the end of this task period. That's my plan for that. But yeah, if there's no more questions on that, yes, Oleg.
I don't know, maybe it's not a good question, but I just want to know what do you think about this? When we discuss heritage lighthouses and heritage equipment, what should we to understand on this definition?
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, for example, we have lighthouse of, I don't know, 19th century, and historically it had some very old equipment.
Mm-hmm.
But during modernizing of this lighthouse, for example, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
It was changed, and really we have now this first variant of equipment, and we have only equipment that was installed there 100 years ago. So 200 years lighthouse and 100 yes 100 years equipment. So is it heritage equipment or no? Because why I ask? Because there are some recommendation that during modernizing and during design of this modernizing equipment, first of all, equipment, we should to understand what part of this equipment are really heritage, and what part of this only old part, and it's not interesting from the historical side. And it's not question, but this thing I care about this. It's not clear for me, and maybe I want to understand how other members of our meeting they are thinking about this.
Yeah, thank you. No, I think I guess that is, you know, something that I thought this document needs to tackle. And in this section, 3.3.1, which is assessing equipment for heritage significance. So that's to say, like you said, your example, this equipment's been in there for 100 years, but the lighthouse is 200 years old. You know, it's suggesting to the ATON managers or whoever it is that's responsible for something being removed, or, you know, whether it's being considered for to be retained, just to assess it and think, you know, is this considerable age? For me, I would consider 100-year-old technology to have significance.
Okay, not 100 years, but for example, 15 years ago, because in our country we have a lot of lighthouses that are equipped with new lens.
Yeah.
But they are really not huge, but rather big. And for young men, like maybe younger than me, they see on this lens, and they think that this is really historical features.
Yeah, and it's not.
But what can I do? I can't destroy this lens because it's used for function of lighthouse on the one hand, and in the other hand, I have no old style 200 years lens. I have no, and nobody can give me this.
Okay.
Yes, and that's
I think,
and this is only example, but we also can see another examples, maybe some little devices, some little actions, or I don't know.
okay, yeah. I think just going back to your question, like say if it's 15 years ago that something's been installed, the assessment that I would use when I was heritage coordinator would be, you know, it might not be old, but is it representative of a turning point in technology? Does it show the evolution of that lighthouse and what changes have been made? There's a lot of different things to take into consideration when looking at it. It might be, like you said, people, or you know, you said young men might think that it's older than it actually is, which, you know, maybe it would be good to have on display, or that, you know, if it's not necessary, if it's 15 years old and it's not necessary to the workings of the lighthouse, maybe it could be put on display, maybe it could be, you know, put in storage or something, you know, so that in the next few years. But it is hard because like each lighthouse is so different. the equipment inside is so different. The evolution of that one particular lighthouse in terms of the technology is always different. So again, I'm very eager to tackle, where it's not that clear in the guideline on, what's counted as what. But I think it tries to leave it to those ATOM managers and project managers that these are the things to consider. But at the end of the day, it comes down to what is considered significant for that particular lighthouse, and that particular technology that's being removed or replaced or installed, that sort of thing. But yeah, you've raised some really important points too. Thank you.
So we should think every time in a unique way.
Yeah.
And the second question, I just want to know your opinion. What about color of lighthouse?
Hello?
Color of lighthouse.
Like,
Wall.
yeah.
Wall, lighthouse. First of all, outside.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, it comes down to each individual lighthouse, but for AMSA, our heritage was, sort of strategy was that we would retain the, original color of the lighthouse, what it's been painted as from its get-go. But we also take into account that sometimes these are used as day marks, and a lighthouse might need to be changed to a particular color in order for the mariners to see that. So I think at the end of the day, the safety of the mariner does take precedence. We did have lighthouses that had red rings added to the outside of it. We would seek permission to do that from the heritage authorities in Australia. We had a lighthouse that was completely painted orange, bright orange, so that it could be seen through the mist. So again, it's a really, really good point, because that's not addressed in here. This is more about, the equipment, but maybe it should also take into account those practical things for mariners as well, which is the day markings. Yeah.
I understand. So your point of view that it depends of its function of safety navigation, and first of all this.
Yeah.
I understand, but maybe we should make a little notice about this.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Say, for example, somebody wants to renovate lighthouse, and it's and there is no difference for them.
Mm-hmm.
Will this lighthouse painted by white color, for example, or white and black color,
Mm-hmm.
for example?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe we should recommend to choose historical.
Yeah.
Because also in Russia we have a lot of lighthouses that are not painted in historical way,
Mm-hmm.
but it was decided after design, after projecting, and now we can change this color. Because it's for safety navigation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But sometimes there is no difference.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point, and I'm going to make a note to include something about that.
It's just a recommendation.
Yeah, exactly. It's just recommendation, and it's funny. For Trinity House, we've had sort of like same issue, but in the other way around, because we have a lighthouse, Beachy Head Lighthouse down on the south coast, that has these red stripes on it that have been painted, and it's become an iconic sort of site of this lighthouse. But we no longer need those red stripes. They were needed once upon a time to alert mariners, but now we don't need them anymore, and the community aren't letting us, or are begging us not to take the red stripes away because they're so iconic. So those stripes were added at one point. Now that they're there, they don't want them to take them away. So it's again about engaging with the community as well, and because it could be quite a bit of uproar if we went and got rid of those red stripes, even though they're not necessarily original nor needed by the mariner anymore. But yeah, it's a really interesting point, and I really like the idea of including something about repainting in this guideline. I think that would be quite useful because it is, like I said, a practical help for the mariner as well. So thank you.
And the third and last question.
Of course.
Yeah, does this recommendation response only for lighthouse building, or not lighthouse building, but lighthouse, or for whole building of lighthouses?
So
Of lighthouse, we call it lighthouse town. Because I don't know.
okay, yeah. I think I have to double check. My aim was that it wouldn't just be the lighthouse tower, it would be associated buildings as well. So for example, Cape Lewin Lighthouse, that impact statement was written about the oil store that was attached to it as well. But there's, there's lighthouse keepers, cottages that are on the property as well. And I think that that's also beneficial to be included in this.
Yeah, maybe just write
Yeah.
lighthouses and lighthouse.
Yeah. The larger property as well, and buildings that are associated with it.
First of all, this is our projects, tourist projects, I think.
I mean,
For people, it's very interesting to see not only like but other building in this area.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. No, that's good. That's really, really good. No, this is good. I think I'm hoping this will be a very useful guideline. So any feedback and comments and questions, these are great. So thank you. Thank you. Any other questions about that guideline? Again, I'm welcoming any feedback and comments. I'm going to be working on this guideline this week, so please feel free to discuss. I'll go back.
Sarah,
Yeah.
your opinion about the heritage definition is very difficult to find out the value of a building. In Korea, it is most of the case is designated national heritage by their owner or organizations they built. So I think we need some support from Iala, which organization supports that lighthouse objectively, which has expert. So any country want to designate their own heritage, Iala can help that definition. So we evaluate that value by expert from Iala. There is another alternative.
Yeah, because I think Iala has its definition of heritage, and
we have some expert
yeah.
from around the world. So we make some group
Mhm.
to evaluate that value. So with that documentation, each country use their objective aim to support their preservation, their own asset.
Sorry, my fault. Because it was supposed for me to put here an input paper about the certification of Iala.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Have you got anything in draft? Oh, lovely.
We are always around the same thing.
Mm.
Because each country has their own needs to restore or to maintain the buildings.
Yes.
Mhm.
And it's very expensive to keep it's very expensive to maintain a building like a lighthouse. In our days, we don't build infrastructure with lighthouse, with a tower, with a lighthouse and everything okay. So to maintain and preserve the old buildings, the heritage buildings, we have to do a superficial fixation of the lighthouses, and we have to get a certification of IL. So each country can use it, and will achieve their own goal in their own country. That's it.
Yeah.
Very to go
But just saying, I think it's very critical and very difficult task, what to define heritage. Just, like you said, what we define heritage is becoming shorter and shorter. Before the pyramid, it's obviously heritage a couple thousand years ago. And now we're preserving buildings or artifacts that are even like 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So it becomes very, very difficult to assess what is heritage or not, even within our generation, even within the professional historical preservation people. So I think that's why we need a separate group or a very experts groups that would, look into it and, and define, at least at that time, experts and think about that. It's very critical.
Sorry, but that's one you can say, Iala certificate is based on what we define.
No, what I'm saying is like certificate is good, but when you give a certificate, you have to have standards. With standards, cannot be fixed every time. So you need experts that will, work there. And having a certificate is a very good idea. I think you need experts, group of experts from different countries.
But the definition of heritage to be the thing that we define here, what are the criteria to be heritage?
Here, maybe there's things in here, I don't know, but here and also the preservation experts and historians and many different people, and especially cultural heritage, I think is very important.
Yeah.
So
I think we need to make some expert pool.
yeah.
We have an architect here.
We need more different archaeologists.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very
Archaeologist also.
Lujuan, I think you had your hand up. Lujuan, was there something you wanted to add to that?
Yeah. Sorry. I remember that in Iala dictionary, Iala dictionary give heritage or historic lighthouse some of the definition in the dictionary. So I think that might be help us to define the heritage lighthouse.
It's very short, but that's just one sentence.
What does it say?
Yeah, just one short sentence. Yeah, maybe the historic lighthouse. It's more. Yeah.
That's cultural significance which goes beyond the current functioning time.
Yeah.
To be or not to be, that's the question.
Right. Yeah, that's that one.
We already told in the last inch that and we are working on giving good steps on the.
Yeah, you can search historical lighthouse. Historical lighthouse. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, historical.
Second one.
The historical.
At least 3 of the following criteria.
I think we need to change it to historical lighthouse.
Yeah.
History is
Incorrect. Yeah. That's a good point.
I'm not sure how much authority we need to define the heritage lighthouse.
Yeah.
If you consider the UNESCO heritage, they have a very formal process to choose or give the title UNESCO heritage. Yeah, they send the expert to the site to examine the quality or value of that candidate. Checklist. Yeah, with the checklist, and they send the report to the council, and they check again and approve and give the title very officially. But we don't have this kind of procedure. We just
Yeah.
submit the proposal, by themselves to the working group and we upload the website and to heritage lighthouse. It's quite simple and easy, but not much authority
Yeah.
for that. So
Yeah.
maybe we need to consider how much authority value we need. For example, the Heritage Lighthouse of the Year is kind of celebrating things to promote all the lighthouse or the world.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe if you have some different achievement or purpose,
Mm-hmm.
maybe make a more formal, procedure.
Yeah.
My fault.
And yeah, after the break, I would like to talk about those tasks that we can consider for the new task period. And I think that that's definitely something that we should seriously consider for that. Again, as oh gosh, I can't remember who said it. I can't remember if it was Elisa said this morning, it's only going to be a 3-year task period rather than a 4-year task period. So we'll have to, have a good plan in place for how to achieve that. Because I don't think it will be a small task. It'll be a large one, but it will be one that's beneficial. So it's yes, Oleg, sorry.
I just want to maybe now or after break, if you want, I just want to explain my point maybe more correctly.
Of course,
I mean that now we talk about heritage lighthouses, but it's not law. It's not law. It's only recommendation. But in any country, as you said, we have our own laws, and according to these laws, we can define and understand what how to choose object that is heritage culture heritage object. And if you I don't know how it is in other countries, but in our country we have Ministry of Culture, and they send me note, and in this note I have text that for example walls outside walls of tower are under protected, and they may don't say anything about devices, about anything. But here we talk not only about the law, but we talk about something maybe clever way, some recommendation for people who can understand that this is really important historical device, and according to this recommendation, and this is not important thing, and we can change this on another issue.
But Oleg, see, I agree with you, but
I agree, but
national statutory protection.
Yeah.
But can have some monuments. They can have a stamp that are not protected by the regulation. Okay, so what we are talking about here is to give a way for you to do your job with your lighthouse heritage without depending on your government.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So we thought that could be the way of each country can have their own access to financial matters to maintain their lighthouse heritage. and not to go by law or.
Yes, that's just, not for country, sorry, not for country, but lighthouse service.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's different.
Yeah.
Because lighthouse, it's under lighthouse, it's ministry under.
And of culture.
So, yeah. But when they decide, I change my word.
Yeah. So this is to keep it simple, a low rank. And
Yeah, that's right.
would be.
What we talking about? All agree.
Brilliant. We'll continue this after the break. So if you could be back here at 5:04, that would be fantastic. And we can talk about what future tasks we've got to look at. So I can go to Alwyn and say, this is what we're doing for the next 3 years. So thank you all so much for the discussion so far, and looking forward to coming back soon, reconvening in half an hour. Thank you. And thank you to all online as well. Thank you. We'll be back at 4 Paris time, so in half an hour.
Sorry, there's next program starting on 27, like the first quarter of the 26th.
Yeah.
So it ends in the last quarter of the 26th, the current. This is a little confusing because in the task register, some task ends in like 24.